Hello and welcome. In this lecture video, I will present a proof of the Minimax theorem. The Minimax theorem is a fundamental theorem about zero-sum games that was proven first by von Neumann back in 1920s, and since then many proofs have been discovered of this central theorem. In this video, we'll discuss a proof that is based on something called the multiplicative weight update method. This is a computational solution to an online algorithms problem. So the structure of this video is going to be as follows. First, I'll talk briefly about multiplicative weight update method. We'll use this method in a black box manner, and we'll cover just what we need for proving the Minimax theorem. Then I'll discuss briefly about Minimax theorem and state it formally. Finally, I'll present a proof of the Minimax theorem using multiplicative weight update method. Okay. So now let's spend some time discussing about multiplicative weight update method. So the starting point is a finite set A of n elements, A1 through An. We'll call A1 through An actions and capital A as the set of actions. And now we also need the notion of a reward function. So a reward function is a function that maps A to the real interval -1, 1. Okay, so you can think of these actions in the terminology of game theory. You can think of these actions as pure strategies, and the reward function as the payoffs for various strategies, pure strategies. Now consider the following online game, which proceeds in discrete time steps t equal to 1, 2, 3 and so on up to capital T, let's say. Now in each time step, so there is a player that plays a game that I am about to describe, and at each time step that player is supposed to choose one of these n actions from the set A. And so at time t, player chooses some action which let me denote by A superscript t from A. And by doing that, the player collects a reward of R of AT. So R superscript T of AT, R superscript T is a reward function that assigns reward values to all actions in the set capital A, and there is one such reward function for each T. Okay, great. Now, the player, while making this decision, does not know what RT is. The objective of the player is to maximize its total reward. Let me denote the total reward by capital R. So capital R by definition, so it is the definition of capital R. Small t goes from 1 to capital T. RT of AT, which is the total reward that it collects. the player wants to maximize the total reward, but the decision that it makes in each step is made without the knowledge of RT. The player knows about R1 through RT minus 1 but does not know what RT is. Once the player makes this choice, RT is revealed to it, and so it knows the reward that its last decision brought it, and also the reward values of all other actions. And yeah, so this choice of AT from A can be probabilistic. So the player, we'll assume, has access to some source of randomness, and the player can use randomness to make this choice. So a randomized player can equivalently be thought of as choosing a mixed strategy instead of a pure strategy. So a mixed strategy is a probability distribution over pure strategies, or in other words, n real numbers p1 through pn, all non-negative, and which add up to 1. So if the player chooses, let's say at time t, a randomized player chooses a probability distribution p1 through pn. Yeah. And the reward, so let me denote it by rw superscript t. This is just the expectation of the reward values of the actions when sampled from this probability distribution, or in other words, it's pt times r. I'm sorry. So pi, which is the probability of the ith reward, times the reward, the probability of the ith action times the reward value of the ith action. Yeah. And this runs over I from 1 to n. Yes. And the total reward R for randomized players will define R to be the sum of this RWT, T from 1 to capital T. So a convenient view that we'll adopt about a randomized player is that it is a deterministic player, but it chooses a mixed strategy, or equivalently a probability distribution over pure strategies, that is action items, at each time step. And the player is looking to maximize R, but the player does not know what RT is. Now, the benchmark total reward value that we would like to compete against is defined as follows. We'll call it opt. This is the performance of any one fixed action in the set capital A, or in other words, RT of A. Yeah. So sorry. So max of this sum over all action items here. So this is my opt, and I'll define the regret to be the difference between R and opt. So I would like to get as close as possible to the reward collected by the best action, so to speak. Okay, and so there is one more definition. So regret bar is defined to be regret by t. Yeah. So we'll call it the time averaged regret. So we'll imagine this regret to have been collected over capital T discrete time steps, and this is on an average the regret that you incur in each time step. Okay. Okay. Now it turns out, so let me just call it fact, one can show that no randomized algorithm can guarantee a regret which is asymptotically better than square root t log n. So for every randomized player, regret is omega square root of t times log n in the worst case. So this lower bound poses a limit to how good we can hope to do and how close we can hope to get to the opt. So we do not expect to beat this lower bound. So we can only hope to get close as possible to it. And in fact, here is another quite striking fact, which states that there indeed exists an online scheme which guarantees a regret of at most square root t log n asymptotically. So in terms of the time averaged regret, we have time averaged regret is order of square root of ln n by capital T. Yes? Okay. So this algorithm is based on a technique known as multiplicative weight update. Yeah. For the purpose of proving the Minimax theorem, we just need the existence of this online scheme as a black box, and we do not need to know the details of how this regret bound is accomplished, attained. So we won't go into the detail of this multiplicative weight update algorithm. We just assume that it exists. Okay, so let me now briefly talk about the Minimax theorem. Yeah. Okay, so let's say there are two players A and B. So let me call them R and C instead, for a reason that will soon be clear. So, two players, R and C, and they have their own sets of actions. So so this is R's set of actions. So R has n actions, A1 through An, and C has, so maybe I'll use small case r to denote R's action set. So small r1 through small rn, and C's action set is C1 through Cn. Okay, so let me say R has m actions instead, r1 through rm, and C has n actions, C1 through Cn. Okay, and now there is a matrix, m cross n matrix, call it A. So it has m rows and n columns. So we'll imagine the rows to be indexed by r1 through rn, and the columns to be indexed by c1 through cn. Yes. Now the ijth entry of the matrix Aij, so say this, so this is Ri and this is Cj, and this is Aij, and Aij will call Aij to be the payoff of the player R if the players choose Ri and Cj respectively. And the payoff of C is just the negative of Aij. So that is why it is called a zero-sum game. The sum of the payoffs of the two players is 0. Or in other words, payoff of one player is the negative of the payoff of the other. You may imagine that if R chooses Ri and C chooses Cj, then C pays Aij dollars to R. Okay. Now imagine this game to proceed in steps, yeah, and each player is trying to maximize her payoff. Yeah. So the row player wants to maximize her payoff, and the column player also tries to maximize her payoff. So when the players can be randomized. So the players can choose mixed strategies, which are probability distributions over pure strategies. So player R can choose a probability distribution P, which is a vector of probability values, m of them, and C can choose a probability distribution Q over her set of actions. Okay, and then we'll imagine that R samples her input from her set of actions according to P, and C chooses her input from her set of actions according to Q. Yeah. Then what is the expected payoff of R? So let me denote it by RW PQ. Yeah, so this is the expected payoff of R, which is just summed over I equal to 1 to n and summed over j equal to 1 to, sorry, I equal to m 1 to m, j equal to 1 to n. The probability that R chooses Ri times the probability that C chooses Cj times the corresponding payoff value, which is Aij. And if you think of P and Q as column vectors, so yeah, so by vectors, let's say that we always mean column vectors. So this is capital T is the transpose operation. We have P to the T times A times Q by matrix notation. In matrix notation, the same thing. Now let us say the players choose their strategies in two steps. R goes first and then C goes. So R plays first and then C plays. That is to say, R chooses a strategy P and then C chooses her strategy Q with the knowledge of P. So C gets to see what R chose, and with that knowledge C chooses. Yeah. So in that case, what will happen? So R of course wants to maximize RW of P comma Q. Now let us say, say R chooses P. Then what will Q choose? What will C choose? So if C chooses Q, then the reward is P transpose AQ. This we know. And C wants to maximize her reward. That is to say, C wants to minimize R's reward, because like R's reward is just the negative of C's reward. So C will choose the Q for which this quantity is minimum. Yeah. For a given P, C will, what should I say? Yeah. So let's say R chooses P hat, yeah, and the Q hat that C chooses is the vector Q that minimizes this quantity, P transpose AQ. Now let's come back to R once more. So R knows that if she chooses P hat, then this is what C is going to choose in the next step. And R wants to maximize her reward. So then what P hat will R choose? R will choose P hat such that this quantity is minimized. So I will choose that P which will maximize this quantity. Once R chooses a particular P, then if C chooses C plays optimally, then R will collect a reward of min over Q, P transpose AQ, and so R will choose a P that maximizes this quantity. And so the reward that R eventually collects, the value which is the value of the game if R goes first, is max P min Q, P transpose AQ. So this is the reward that R secures if R goes first and the players play optimally. Yeah. So let's give it a name, maybe capital A. Now by an analogous argument, so if C goes first and the players play optimally, then the reward that R collects is min over Q, max over P, P transpose A Q. Okay. Now the question is, how do A and B relate to each other? Can we establish a relationship between them? Now, intuitively, it looks like a player is at an advantage if she goes second, because then she has the knowledge of the strategy chosen by the other player. So the row player will have an advantage if she goes second. So you can expect A to be less than or equal to B. And this intuition is indeed correct. So let's prove it formally. So let's consider A. Now let us say if A goes first, if R goes first and C goes second, then the pair of strategies that get chosen are P hat and Q hat. And let us say if C plays first, then the pair of strategies that get chosen are P tilde and Q tilde. Okay, great. So Q equal to Q hat minimizes P hat transpose A Q, which means that P hat transpose A Q hat is less than or equal to P hat transpose A and any other Q, and in particular Q tilde. Yes? And a similar argument, yeah, if we look at B, then P equal to P tilde maximizes P transpose A Q tilde, which means that P tilde transpose A Q tilde is greater than or equal to any other P in place of P tilde, in particular P hat. So greater than or equal to P hat transpose A Q tilde. Now you put these two inequalities together and A less than or equal to B follows. So let me just say, for want of space, like I don't want to drag it to the new space, that the proof is complete. Yeah. So A is less than or equal to B. So now the question is, can A be strictly less than B? Does there exist pair of matrices for which A is strictly less than B? And this is where the Minimax theorem comes in. That asserts that no, the answer to this question is no, and A is always equal to B. So in other words, it does not matter which party goes first. If they play optimally, the payoff of both the players at the end are going to be the same in both cases. Okay. Now let me just say one application of Minimax theorem, like just maybe a couple of motivating applications of Minimax theorem. Minimax theorem has extensive application in computation. When people talk about probabilistic computation, Minimax theorem shows up in a lot of places, and that version generally goes by the name of Yau's Minimax theorem, which is basically an application of von Neumann's Minimax theorem to computation. This is one application, and another application is it immediately implies a proof of John Nash's theorem for the special case of zero-sum game. So John Nash showed that any finite game has a Nash equilibrium, maybe a mixed strategy Nash equilibrium, and Minimax theorem implies that for those games, for two-player games where the total payoffs of the two players for every pair of strategies is 0, Nash's theorem is true. And so the original proof of Neumann is different certainly than the one that we are going to see here. Minimax theorem also follows in a straightforward manner from linear programming duality theorem. But our proof is yet another proof of Minimax theorem, which uses the multiplicative weight update method that we talked about before. I'd like to say one more thing here. Multiplicative weight update method is really a computational result. Now, theoretical computer science draws extensively on various branches of mathematics. This is probably one instance where it pays back in its own way to the mathematics community. Minimax theorem is really a mathematical theorem that does not have anything directly to do with computation, but there is a proof of Minimax theorem that goes via an algorithmic result. So computational thinking can indeed sometimes be helpful in proving results that are seemingly unrelated to computation. Okay. Let's just now get started on the proof of Minimax theorem. So we'll assume that A and B, the players R and C, they will parallelly run the multiplicative weight update algorithm that we talk about. So this is a thought experiment really. So we will assume so what do I mean? To run the multiplicative weight update algorithm, I'll have to provide the players with a stream of reward functions. So what are those reward functions going to be? So let us see. For this algorithmic task, for that matter, at each time step, the player chooses a probability distribution over her set of actions. And in this particular algorithm, namely the multiplicative weight update algorithm, the probability distribution chosen in the first time step is the uniform distribution. This is one fact that I need about the algorithm. hopefully I won't need anything more about that algorithm. So at t equal to 1, so R chooses uniform distribution over A1 through AN. Yeah. So the probability vector is basically 1 over n to 1 over n. And C also chooses, because C is also following the same algorithm. R has m actions in her action set, so it should be 1 over m, 1 over m, 1 over m, and C chooses 1 over n, 1 over n. So this is P, I will say this is P1 and this is Q1, and in general P superscript T and Q superscript T are respectively going to be the mixed strategies chosen by the players at the tth time step. Yeah. So at t equal to 1, this is what they chose. Yeah. And now I can specify R of 1. Yeah. Like the decision in the first time step is anyway independent of R of 1. The players don't have access to R of 1. So I can as well specify R of 1 in terms of, the specific strategies chosen at t equal to 1. So there are actually two reward functions, one for rho, one for R and one for C. So let me denote R sub R. So let me only speak about, for now, let me only speak about the rho player, and everything will extend analogously to the column player, and let me not say that explicitly in the interest of simplicity. So let me omit this subscript capital R, and this reward function is understood to be the one for the rho player. So R of 1 is A times P of 1. So R of 1 is a function that maps a set of m elements to reals. So I can think of it, so the value table of this function has m entries, so I can think of it as a column vector of dimension m. So, and you can see that A times P prime A times Q1. So A times Q1 is a column vector of dimension n. So because A is m cross n and Q1 is n cross 1, so A times Q1 is a column vector, is an m cross 1 matrix. It is a basic sanity check that the dimensions match up on both sides. But what does this column vector mean? So what is the, let's say, the ith entry of this column vector? So this is summation k from 1 to n AIN Q1, sorry, the other way. AIK times Q1, the kth entry of Q1. Yeah. So you can easily see this to be equal to, EI transpose A Q prime, where EI is the column vector with 1 at the ith entry and 0 elsewhere. So this basically is equal to, you know, in the minimax game that we were considering, this is the payoff of the row player. If the row player plays the pure strategy AI, Ri, small r of I, and the column player plays the mixed strategy Q1. Let's verify this. So basically you assume that the column player plays Q1, and then you consider the payoffs of the row player for various pure strategies that she can play, R1 through Rm. Yeah? And so you get M payoff values, you stack them into a vector with M entries, and that is your reward function R prime. And that vector is exactly A times Q prime. Okay. And in general, the Tth reward function Rt is equal to A times Qt. So now I think I have specified everything that needs to be specified to specify the multiplicative weight the run of the multiplicative weight update algorithm. So the row player plays this. Similarly, the column player is also playing it parallelly by an analogous sequence of reward functions. Yeah. But let's focus on the row player. Okay. So now let's see what is the total reward collected by R. Okay, so there is a clash of notation. So let me just say reward for R, because so we use the notation capital R to denote the total reward while discussing the multiplicative weight, and then used capital R to denote a player in this game. So reward for R is, so T equal to 1 to capital T, and what is the reward? Reward computed by capital R. So the reward function is RT, and the player chooses the strategy PT. Yeah. So it's basically the dot product of PT and RT. PT transpose times RT. Yeah. Well, just so the total reward is sum over I equal to 1 to M PT of I times RT of AI. So RT of or let me write here PT of AI times RT of AI. Yeah. So the probability of the ith action times the reward value of the ith action, and this is basically the dot product of the inner product of the vectors PT and RT, which is PT transpose RT, and this is equal to capital T. So RT is A times QT, so I get PT transpose A times QT. So there is again another overloading of notation. I hope it won't be confusing. So this capital T denotes the time step, number of time steps for which we play the game, and this capital T denotes the transpose of this column vector PT. Okay. So this is the reward for R. Yeah. Okay. And let's for a moment switch over to C by an analogous argument, the reward for C will exactly going to be the negative of this. So let's say we'll only track the negative reward of C. So this is exactly equal to this. Yes. Thus, okay, so we have the expression for the rewards of the two players collected through this algorithm. And now let's talk about opt. So what is opt? Okay, so let's get to it a little later, but by the guarantee of the multiplicative weight update algorithm, this total reward of R let me just write total reward. So opt minus total reward, which is the regret, this is order of square root t log of square root t log of m, because m is the number of actions for the role player of R. And so let's divide through by t. So we get opt by t minus total reward by t, which is the expected reward. So let me write tr for total reward. No, so it's confusing. X for total reward by t, which is basically the the time averaged regret. This is equal to order square root log m by t. Now we will choose t to be large enough so that this is very small. This is, let's say, at most epsilon. So choose to be log m by epsilon square. But you see, I will need the same guarantee when I talk about the column player, but column player has n actions. So let's choose t large enough so that even for the column player, the average regret is upper bounded by epsilon. So let's choose t to be log m plus log m divided by epsilon square. Yeah. So let's put a 4 here maybe and put epsilon over 2 here. So I choose t large enough so that the average regret becomes epsilon over 2. So now let's focus a bit on opt. So what is this opt? So opt is the maximum over all fixed strategies. So maximum over all, so let's say maximum for I equal to 1 to m, the total regret, the total reward if R plays AI throughout. So t equal to 1 to capital T, EI A QT. Yeah. So we have seen before that this is the reward collected if the role player chooses the pure strategy RI, the ith pure strategy in its collection. And now only QT, Q superscript T is the term that is dependent on T in this summation. So I'll bring the remaining outside. So it's equal to max over I. So EI A. Okay, so 1 by T, let's carry this 1 by T. EI A summation QT by capital T. Oh, this is over T. Okay. And let's define this vector. So define Q tilde to be this vector, summation QT over T. This is what you get. Yeah. Okay, so let's also define this quantity to be, opt bar maybe for convenience. So what we have shown is that the total reward of R is greater than or equal to opt bar minus epsilon over 2, and opt bar is at least max is equal to max over I of EI transpose A Q hat minus epsilon over 2. Now this quantity is at least max of this quantity over all I, which means that this quantity is, so for every I, so total reward of R is at least EI transpose A Q bar Q hat minus epsilon over 2. So for every pure strategy Ri that the role player chooses, for every pure strategy Ri, total reward of R is lower bounded by this quantity. Now what if I replace this pure strategy EI by an arbitrary mixed strategy, which is a probability distribution over all the pure strategies? So what, sorry, not PI, so P transpose A Q bar minus epsilon over 2. So what does it mean? It means that, so this matrix product A times Q hat, which is really a column vector of dimension m, so you can think of it as a reward function, and EI transpose T times A times Q hat is the reward corresponding to Ri according to this react function A times Q hat. And now for every I, the reward of Ri satisfies this inequality. So that means if the reward is chosen by some probability distribution, then the average reward will also satisfy this inequality. And this is just because if a bunch of numbers is at most something, then a weighted average of those numbers is also at most the same quantity. That's it. Great. So let's turn to, and so this is true for any p, and in particular for the p that maximizes this quantity. So let me write max over p. Now by an analogous argument, if you run the same argument on the column player, you will get that the total reward of C, yeah, is at least max over Q P hat transpose, P hat transpose times the payoff matrix of the column player, which is minus A, yeah, times Q, where P hat is defined analogous to Q hat. So Q hat was, if you remember, Q hat was summation Qt by capital T, and P hat will be summation of Pt by capital T. Yeah, this minus epsilon over 2. Yeah, and total reward of C will be equal to minus of total reward of R. So it's equal to minus of total reward of R. Yeah, and this is basically, you can follow from symmetry. So let's look at the expression of the total reward of C, total reward of R. Where did I write that? Yes, here. So it's P transpose capital T, A, Q transpose T, and so for C you will just replace A by minus A, because that is the payoff matrix for C. And then you just multiply both sides by minus 1 and reverse this inequality. So you get total reward of R is less than or equal to minus max over Q P transpose T minus A Q plus epsilon over 2, yeah, which is equal to, just verify, min over Q P transpose T A Q plus epsilon over 2. Call this equation 2, call the previous one equation 1. So here, now you put them together. So what you get is, max over P transpose T A Q hat minus epsilon over 2 is less than or equal to min over Q P hat transpose A Q plus epsilon over 2 now. Yeah, see, this is something that depends only on P hat, so this is going to be only smaller than if I maximize over P. So max over P, min over Q, P transpose AQ plus epsilon over 2. So max, the P that achieves this maximum may not be P hat, in which case it is strictly larger than this quantity. And similarly, this quantity is at least min over Q, max over P P transpose AQ minus epsilon over 2. Similarly, yeah, if if Q hat does not minimize this expression, then minimizing, taking the Q that minimizes this expression only reduces this expression. So thus we get that min over Q max over P transpose AQ is less than or equal to max over P min over Q P transpose AQ plus epsilon. Now recall that epsilon was arbitrary and I can carry through the entire argument for any epsilon. So this inequality must hold for every value of epsilon, which means that these two quantities must be equal. So for every epsilon. And earlier we saw that the other direction is easy. So we conclude that these two must be equal, and that's the end of the